when you look at that total cost, right? I think it's important, and what I'd like to have you kind of go into some detail a little bit, Dan, if you could, about the tools and the solutions that are put in place versus like the fractional ability for an MSP to provide the tools, whether it's the ticketing solution, whether it's the antivirus solution, whether it's the user training solutions, these enterprise class tools that are provided by the MSP, the cost for any business to stand those up from scratch and maintain them over time and have the personnel to track them and do the things that need to do, whether it's software updates, whatever, being able to give that to the clients fractionally versus having them pay for those solutions themselves. I don't think a lot of organizations who haven't worked with an MSP in the past or have worked with maybe some less mature MSPs really understand the value of that. So could you kind of talk a little bit about like how that value works and what that looks like?
Yeah. And you may have heard me talk about this before. When I was a client of an MSP, everything kind of just happens. You know that occasionally you're asked a question or something's escalated to you or from you or whatever, but things kind of just generally get done and projects get done. And as the business IT guy, you're like, oh, this is great. This is cool. Well, then when I started working for an MSP, I was shocked. And this is IronEdge 10 years ago, when we were still, kind of maturing. But the amount of, even taking the Wayback Machine 10 years, the amount of process and procedure and platforms, applications, knowledge bases, and all this stuff that's baked into what the IT provider is giving you, like how the sausage is made, was really, really fascinating to me. It was really, really well put together. There's a lot of stuff going on there just to make it seem very easy. Oh yeah, we fixed your issue. There are platforms that, and I've done this too, years ago, 15 years ago, I was tasked with, for a 150 user corporate office where I worked, I had to put in place a help desk ticketing software. I had to find one, vet one, put it in place. So years and years ago, I found one that seemed like it met my needs at the time. I put it in place. That took many months, trained a bunch of people to use it. I'd say it took about a year to get that thing just up and running. And that thing could face the internet and it could face internal. And that was just getting the thing stood up. But having somebody on site to maintain the security of it, to keep it well organized, to have it set up as industry best practice, which honestly I probably didn't even know at the time. Having just the ticketing solution cost a lot of money, to set up. It costs a lot of money to maintain, and then it costs a lot of money to actually set it up in a way that's scalable and easy to use and properly set up per industry. That having an MSP come in and just provide that to you, that you can then pay fractionally and use and share with us, it's amazing. Like the cost of standing something like that up and maintaining it, I can't even tell you what that would be. Many thousands of dollars every year, many dozens of thousands of dollars just to have that thing in place. But you take that, we provide that. Not only do we provide that, but we provide platforms for security. We provide dark web platforms that analyze the dark web and alert you if anything pops on there. We provide training platforms as part of this is all stuff you just pay for with us, generally speaking. We provide training platforms so that your end users get phishing training, and for you to buy that and set it up and maintain it and figure out the reporting and keep it secure and all that stuff. Again, that's very, very expensive to do and to maintain over a long period of time. But us as an MSP, we just give that to you as part of what you're paying for. There's plenty of other things that are the exact same way. Our security services solutions, those are very complicated solutions that are honestly pretty expensive on our side, that we set up and constantly maintain and constantly have to deal with reporting and alerting on. That if that was completely held by the company, the business, if you bought your next generation antivirus, set it up, deployed it, and then set the thing to alert on all the things that are going to alert that need to be looked at, that would be a full-time job, 100%. And it would be very, very expensive to set it up. So if you look at that, you look at all these things that the MSP provider is, or we in particular, are putting in place and giving you access to, it's completely apples to oranges as far as costs. I mean, you may have, and I'm not kidding about this, for a 50-person organization, you may need 3 people to handle the things that I just said, to keep them maintained, to deal with reporting, to deal with alerting, to do all this stuff. It's wild, but you don't know that unless you know it, unless you've heard somebody like me talk about it or you've seen it yourself.
We've talked about that, where it's like tools are tools, whether you need them for 1 person or 100 people. There's a baseline amount of effort and cost when it comes to implementing a solution, right? And up to a certain point, there's no real break point on that, right? So up to like, you'll get to the certain point where maybe it's 50 people, right? Before that tool that you've implemented begins to get to the point where it's less expensive than if you were to go out and potentially outsource purchasing it, because then you can afford to like have a person, or you get better rates on it. And so that's really important for people to understand, is that especially with organizations that are on the smaller side, getting this fractional system where it's all integrated, right?